like 30% off.
That's like fucking Russian football, man. He's so.
Oh, you
You
have
see a lot of
No, I don't.
boo-hooey.
It's not hard that hard. I think I'm because when I don't have the
If you know what you did,
That's expensive.
maybe you bullshit it in.
Oh, so you have to go to the
that's pretty fast.
Like you have to do the day when you're.
Yeah, no, I was gonna do it I was gonna get it,
They're running out.
it's supposed to work on Monday, but they.
Yeah.
Because they don't.
No, that's just sort of
The old one.
labor. That's just how
Oh,
it
you
is.
did cancel your work?
No, no,
So,
the White House didn't,
like with
he
the
didn't fly.
30% discount,
Oh,
I didn't go,
Yeah,
why was I gonna go?
Parts and everything.
Did you go Monday?
Did I just see Nick do
They just
fishing?
bounce it out around.
Really
How much
nice
for the White House?
fishing.
That's what he does at least.
It doesn't seem like it's just the
Is it the Lloyd House?
Yeah.
But you gotta
See everything right up. I had to.
So how's Brett Man getting in?
Last, I had to.
Is he getting the random bracelet, or how is he?
And
getting
I
in?
was shooting everything too late. Yeah.
Ah.
But
You should.
and then FedEx like was delayed in sending the loan.
He doesn't care.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, I wish you could just have total recall and remember every single place you've been on those campaigns. There's no way to remember it all.
FedEx.
At least you have a
And
picture
you're
of
saying
that
that's one
one.
of the. How good is it?
Not yet, I'm still waiting. I think I'll.
Hard drive somewhere.
Hi.
He was going to see.
Thank you. I meant to bring new other ones that are more appropriate, but I forgot. They're at home still.
No, it's gonna get back to normal.
Yeah, get a huge. Right.
At least don't, it's
Wow.
never gonna get back to
And then print out the ones
Keep
you
it like
want.
this.
You don't print them out.
At least.
At least.
You don't print them out.
They gotta fight COVID, they gotta fight this, they gotta fight him. If they start a 9/11 commission thing, oh my God, we're gonna. We should, let's just put one person in here. Okay.
Yeah.
I stopped
I know.
processing and collecting.
I'll pull it.
Yeah.
6 images.
Yeah, but they're not as high quality.
4 from here and 1 from each side.
One virtual.
All right, 1 vertical. I got you. All right, 7.
I know.
We'll let you start.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Thousands.
I did a little bit. I still need.
They're not high
I gotta give
quality.
it to her. I was like,
So it's still
Chip
pretty
is.
committed.
Of course, neither was
I'd have to copy it.
I gotta say, I got this one. That's
Compared to the education, I'm really, I don't know if I can get that A1.
Yeah, I have-
You're showing me.
Yeah,
I didn't miss these cameras at all.
Yeah, you, once you learn the camera, know the,
It's amazing.
know the,
Oh, she did.
Summer.
Yeah.
shortcomings and what he can do well, and
Nothing.
It's in the ballpark of what you.
5 years when you phone, or when you
Yeah.
and then now 5 years when you read.
Well, that's what I told her. I said, you don't even know what the hell
Eyes
it
will
is.
never be that
It
big.
could be phenomenal, like,
no, it'll be in your eye,
In your eyes,
not
yeah.
us, but the next generation.
You just take that.
Yeah, so you shoot it and Twitter immediately.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
Block.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Me either, I gotta go.
I'm just trying to. They keep hearing it in other states.
Like I can barely use it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I am blind.
So, like,
Yeah, so
No, not the A1. That's A1.
so I wanna go to the.
It's very really nice when people are talking to you.
I did hear
Then
someone
this
who I
is
know
pretty.
who was just like walking by, and that's when I got it.
See, the problem is,
Yeah,
I
I
think
like
whenever they
that.
take off for the day, they have to utilize it.
Exactly.
Like in New York, if we went in line at like,
Yeah.
wherever the Mets play or whatever, and you
Yeah.
go put your name in, and at 3 o'clock, they'll call you, or might not call you. A lot of my photographer friends,
That's the stupidest thing I've ever
like,
heard.
just because they can't,
I'm all for full employment too.
they've done it like 5 or 6 times, and then finally one time they hit it, but,
I'm just bummed they already put out our
Yep.
daily editor's choice, cause I wanted to get a picture.
I don't know, there's not many reporters, so she's being very nice. We'll see what happens, and then if we have to, we'll go top 5, I Yeah,
How about that?
and to be honest,
Yeah,
I don't care. It's Pelosi, so I will scoot out of the way.
I gave him an 8008 Y code.
Did you get your,
I realized why.
approval for this thing yet, the new one?
No, I haven't gotten approval.
No, but like if you check with them, they might agree on it, like Oliver.
I mean, if they would've waited and got it just,
Yeah,
just as kind of bothers me that it's on the line.
It's always just like, yeah, I mean, the background was a little distracting.
Yeah, if his head would've been
Alex,
completely
hired for me.
square,
I know she does,
black,
she's waiting.
and then that
So
butterfly.
next time I'm there, we're supposed to get one time.
That's why photographers don't put their pictures on the wall.
In the
It's
room,
always
that's my
putting
goal
their-
at least. So let's try for our usual 4 up here,
Wow.
and then 1 on either side, so 2 sort of by the pillars here.
No.
Then we'll do 2 back here, and then 3 and 1 on the right.
Slash.
Whatever you need.
Thank you all.
Or front.
Yeah, like the usual 4 up front, and then we can do 1 here, 1 on the opposite side, pillar, 1 here, 1 back there.
25 years on that. Funny you should mention that. Because I'm bored with the pandemic.
No. Not yet. I'm gonna try to get a lot done next week. I'm not- It is, trust me, I need to finish. A ton. Since Harney gave me a couple of estimates, he's got for the road, and he's saying. So, my plan is next week to do some framing, so I gotta do the upstairs, the master bedroom, master bath. No, but it's ready, it just needs to be framed, and so it's coming along.
Hey,
How long does yours stay?
Look at that snow in Chicago, it's just mind blowing.
Oh, God.
Yep.
Hey, if you don't handle it, snow, Texas can't.
Watching that stuff in Texas is just kind
You know
of
what
sad.
Texas is? Cancun.
It's typical for political leaders.
Well, but Texas, especially, because you think you come to California.
of course, he plans everything.
And he's like, I have no defense.
Yeah.
So look, he's like, I'm Texas.
So he's returning.
Were you there in 2011?
Yeah, with the snow,
Yeah, with the massive,
There.
Sitting in
in the polar vortex,
oh, I love that.
yeah, the frozen going on the lake that was frozen.
Yeah,
Came in
I was
front.
reading the photos out.
Yeah.
That's a different
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
But,
I went out there,
I guess.
it was weird walking on the lake, thinking,
People are
yeah,
saying,
this is, we gotta kill
oh,
this.
well, you can't
Takes
really
30 photos of this.
everything you should have a generator and have all this stuff. I'm like, excuse me.
You know what?
My mother
Oh,
lives outside San Antonio.
so much
She's
snow
82
features.
years old, lives in a house.
That's all we do.
We have one person doing snow
My
features
dad was in
today,
the Army.
Chip's done that.
They both worked their whole lives. My dad was in the Army for 20 years.
Drew's at home, he didn't even go to the White House, he got a snow day.
She pays her bill.
They call it early.
She doesn't, she has to be
They
prepared.
call it a snow day.
Because you can't keep your energy.
Power
paid.
grid is not an entitlement.
No, they pay, we pay to pay for it. And then that fucking mayor spouted out that he quits.
No, she's not.
What part of public service?
Quickly things can run off.
Public service utilities, public servants, don't forget.
Waiting for his class.
I mean, there's a lot of really super.
So his name, he's going to.
I like it.
Which would have been fine if he hadn't made those cuts.
It's funny, I read this one story, it goes through all this stuff about, you know,
No, but even if.
Maybe he would.
Third paragraph is,
That'd be awesome.
interestingly, this was all written in 2011 or whatever. And it wasn't even a more minor storm than this. So those utilities, people are like, oh, everybody else, man, they don't work in bad weather, so or bad weather.
Yeah, he's
Sure,
okay.
they say all this stuff. So
Yeah,
I
thank you.
Googled wind turbines in Antarctica, and there's hundreds of pictures. So I got this picture, there's a little penguin, there's wind turbine, and then there's a research station, solar panels on the top.
Oh my God, did you see this meme?
Trouble.
If you-
The social distance guidelines, or the social distance.
I don't know, they're gonna do the same
thing.
I think he just likes to know.
Those guys.
That's awesome.
Set the social distancing in there now.
It's simple stuff.
With a ruler, bring your ruler.
Stuff that
She tried to go back to school.
Yeah. She had her time.
You had to pay for it, like,
She had her
literally.
time of yelling at adults.
And they will send us an
As an
email that
adult,
we
she
go
can't
out.
really yell at
The
herself.
first week of March, they'll say
She
go.
doesn't have the kid card anymore.
They went to the office last week, and they were like,
I think it's gotta be the same
It's
month.
like,
Cause I remember I went last year, like the second week of March, and I'm glad I did before the pandemic.
I'm sorry.
And then everybody like got nuts because they didn't get in. But I went, I think I was here for something, and it was literally March
He was
second or third.
for a lot.
They're like, yeah, you can do it.
He
It's
was like,
March.
just like,
So I was like, okay.
I mean, she's mean and nasty and everything, but.
Cause they're doing all the staff this month, like Shingle said he got his.
Remember when we built the Rayburn building, and,
I paid the whatever, the 40, whatever it was. 41.86 or something on PayPal, I'm like, sure, just, yeah.
I got your email yet?
For which one?
Yeah.
For here? You won't get a, you get a PayPal thing.
Yeah, I paid that, I'm saying email.
What was
You
this
won't
for?
get an email,
She was,
they'll send it. You just must, it's gotta be the same month, the month of.
I paid it.
No, so you can't go in February, they're doing staff in February.
I wasn't there.
You have to go to March,
I only did it
is
once.
what the pass office said.
But I don't have to wait for notice from the, because usually years we get notices when you go into the front.
When she was.
Well, if you pay it, that's your
No,
renewal.
I'm talking about
okay.
Yeah, if I'm looking at this right.
Oh,
Yeah.
Fred,
Yeah,
sorry.
so, yeah,
What
yeah.
they say.
Oh, yeah, they
Oh, the
totally.
handlers, yeah, they're crazy.
They totally managed her. And then they,
I don't, to be honest, I know what you're asking, I don't remember that, I just went in March. And it was-
right. They're like, yeah, we don't care.
Yeah, I got something on 2/4, blah, blah, blah.
They were there.
Yeah, I got the email for paying the thing, I paid the regular. Nah, not a big deal. What's the new code this?
I don't know, I think
They
it's like,
wanted to. They just wanted to, and then they would say her
Supreme Court.
sickness. Then they would say her sickness.
send the
you know,
text soon.
so-
Most of it is canceled, there's no-
Oh, God.
Well, what she's autistic or something else. You know.
Left my house for no reason.
Oh, yeah. That was funny though.
That's okay, I know they are. You can hold on to them a little bit.
Right?
I'll take
Or
it.
spun
If
out.
you're still using it, it's okay, I know
Spun out.
where they are. Why don't you hold on to it like for another month, cause I got some, we're getting rid of some gear, so I'll make room for them again. In the gear closet. Cause who knows, maybe spring you'll wanna shoot some more stuff, so. I know, it's a big box. My father-in-law was gonna throw that box out, cause that used to be his dive box. And then I'm like, wait a minute, what size is that box? And I measured and I'm like, perfect, cause it's a stupid old Pelican. But for that, I mean, literally, it couldn't have been more. Yeah.
How many stringers? Gotta keep that whole one going. Huh? I'm doing it because I have to do something today.
Exactly.
To everybody.
Exactly.
Right, yes. What are you gonna do other than that? That's one good thing that we do. You know, they're like, look. You don't know how she daily life features every day and calling her a dog. You know? Like unless there's a tie, we can just.
2 minutes and like 30 seconds.
I just don't want all these daily, people use it, they say it's a shiftless work ethic. People go out and just shoot pictures. What's that?
2 minutes.
Thank you.
Now.
No. No, that's not a story.
Do people like, usually have it not,
They don't
go
know.
higher?
I don't think it matters.
No, no. They want you to actually Oh, dude, you're gonna be isolated, like COVID test every day up your nose.
Make such a show of the COVID testing, you know, they're doing everything they can, this thing is gonna take any spontaneity out of it.
So. I'm sure he has some remote edited basketball stuff, like purposely in there, remote edited basketball stuff.
Show them what we're doing.
Good. Well, I definitely want to see.
They also know it's a 20-hour vaccine.
True.
Is there any audience at all?
No. Like just basic exposure was off, you know? I was like, come on. I thought the flights were safe, Kevin. They restricted the air in there so much. Don't you say like the air is recirculated every 2 minutes?
Yeah, it's what they say.
I'm worried about the guy sitting next to me and decides it's
Yeah.
lunchtime and he's gonna.
That's true.
I know, I've been sitting next to people on planes, they'll be like,
When
take
they
it
start
off,
eating.
take a bite, put it back on.
It's the food thing.
What I wanna know about is, World Cup next year. Qatar,
What time of year is it supposed to take place? No, next year?
next year.
It'll be fine next year.
Yeah, you'll be fine. Where will play, what country?
Qatar.
Oh, yeah.
Qatar. Yeah, that was super. George W. Bush.
In the hallway, guys, headed toward the green room. Thank you. You're welcome.
June.
I've been there before, it's hot. Very hot. They air condition the outdoor stadiums. Underneath the seats, there's a big blower that's going all people there.
Under the seat.
Yeah. Or front. Like all those stadiums are built basically slave labor.
Really? No, I do not
not actually, it could be any, you could set it to anything.
What do you have it set to?
ISO,
It works, I mean, actually, it's how you.
up and down.
My problem is that I get word stuck on my head that I should do it for, like, the word breezy. I can't find it.
Man, I remember the manual aperture range, shooting Chrome and splitting
Not everything is breezy.
into thirds
Can't stop.
between stops.
Well, not busy.
Right? People started pointing it out, and I was like, oh, right, it's behind. Hey,
What's up?
it is what it is.
Good morning. So here we are. The hail. Hoot with the owls, soar with the eagles early in the morning here. Not that early, but in the inclement weather. And speaking of inclement weather, our hearts and prayers go out to the people of Texas for what they are suffering in their situation there in terms of lack of water, lack of energy. I have a daughter in Houston, so I know firsthand what her concerns are, but her concerns are minor compared to people in need, people truly in need. To lose water and service for my family is one thing, but for people who don't have so many options, it's just heartbreaking. I would hope that the public policy of the state would recognize the needs that are there. We have in our COVID bill $50 billion for FEMA. The president has responded to the call for disaster assistance. He did that on Sunday morning. Now FEMA will take a measure of what the needs are. We want to be sure to have the funds there. There are other needs that my colleagues from Texas have told us about, the needs that relate to nutrition. Again, the fact that some people were hopeful of getting their vaccine shot, or not able to do it. And it is, so they want immediate assistance from FEMA to replenish Texas' water supply and help Texas obtain safe and drinkable water. Immediate assistance from FEMA to respond to Texans for emergency personal assistance through direct payments and home repair assistance. Immediate assistance from FEMA and SBA to aid small businesses. Requests for implement disaster supplemental nutrition SNAP food and to allow temporary flexibility in SNAP eligibility. Authorization of emergency appropriations for low-income, for LIHEAP. LIHEAP would enter into this. That LIHEAP, for those of you who are new, Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program. Then it goes on and on. So in any event, assistance in delivery, storage, and distribution of the COVID vaccination, to name a few of the immediate needs that people have. Everybody has their personal experience. My daughter's home has no water. Pipes are breaking all over because of the cold. Again, they can handle it, but a lot of people can't. So it's the question of needing water and food and energy and vaccines and the rest. We really have to be on top of that and hope that there would be some preparation for the future. This was, in many ways, predictable in a long range of weatherizing the infrastructure of energy in the state. That's a longer range discussion, but in the immediate, to have given people an earlier alert as to what their concerns would be. I believe that the Energy and Commerce Committee will be taking up some form of, when I say investigation, I mean a look into it to see how things could have turned out better and will turn out better in the future. At the same time, I'm so proud of the work of our members, the chairs of the committees of jurisdiction, the members, the staff. I feel as if we've worked the staff 24/7 for a number of weeks now to make sure that we stay on schedule with the American Rescue Plan, the Biden plan. It is, as you know, a couple of weeks ago, we passed the budget bill for reconciliation to protect the 51-vote privilege. Then last week, we wrote up the bill within that framework, within different committees of jurisdiction, honoring their amounts. And then that now has gone to the Budget Committee, which will consolidate all of that, make sure that it is, again, in keeping with what reconciliation allows, and that will then go to the Rules Committee for us to vote on sometime at the end of next week, is my hope. However, at the same time, there's communication with the Senate as to what the Byrd Rule will allow in the bills as we go forward. So that's kind of where we are on that. And people have worked so hard and so intensely because, as I said to the members, when we have been briefing them the last few days, we've had, under leadership of our chair, Hakeem Jeffries, and Pete Aguilar, the vice chair, every day we've had the chairs present what is in the bills, not for suggestions of amendment, but for notification of this is what the overall reconciliation enables us to do, and this is how we are going forward. So I'm very, very proud of their work. Today is a busy day, I know, with the snow and sleet and the rest, but today we have the U.S. Citizenship Act, which will be introduced. Linda Sanchez, the lead in the House, Bob Menendez, the chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee in the Senate. The Equality Act, this is something, it's very exciting for us. The Equality Act, we passed it, of course, before, and hopefully now it will be passed into law in the Senate because it will have bipartisan support. The business community is supportive because they want the very best in their workforce, and in order for that to happen, we have to remove discrimination in all aspects of our society and our economy. So I thank David Cicilline for his leadership in passing this, Senator Merkley in the Senate. And then we're very pleased at the strong bipartisan support we have for the Congressional Gold Medal to honor our Capitol Police, naming a few of them for their courage, their valor, and for saving our lives. Without them, who knows how bad this could have gone, but I'm very pleased that we have very, very strong bipartisan support, and with the leadership, Mr. McCarthy and Mr. Scalise, as well as the leadership on the Democratic side as well. As you saw, the Senate announce their support for this on Saturday night, and then we will come together and pass this legislation. And then we're working on the commission, the January 6th commission. What's happening there in that timetable is the following. Everybody was saying we need to have a commission and this or that. I was very much a part of writing the commission in 2000, in the 9/11 commission. You've heard me go through that before. And so we heard almost immediately, or sometime last week, from the chairs of that commission, Governor Kane of New Jersey and our former chairman in the House, Lee Hamilton, and they sent us all a letter, the leadership, the president, the vice president, leadership, House and Senate, saying this is what we think should be in the legislation. It wasn't too far from what everybody thought. What are the causes of what happened 9/11? What is the truth there? What is the security? Look at how the security can protect us, better preparedness can protect us in the future, and how did that go wrong, is what they had in the letter. They also had a provision that they wanted, which is to strengthen Congress, the view that the public has of Congress, and we'll see how we can deal with that. But by and large, most of what they suggested very much mirrors what we had in the bill that we wrote in 2011 at the time, for the, not 2011, the 9/11 commission. So that legislation plus their report plus their letter is pretty much the basis for what we have. As soon as we came to terms with that in the last few days, we sent it to the Republicans to see what suggestions they may have, because for this to work, it really has to be strongly bipartisan. So we'll hear back from them on that, and I'm excited about that. But when we did it in 2001, the families of 9/11 really weighed in on it. There's really strong support in the country for us to seek the truth, find the truth, but also understand how we have to protect the American people from what might be out there in terms of domestic terrorism and the rest. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Madam Speaker, thank you. I wanted to ask you, on January 13th, a number of your Democrat colleagues sent a letter to the Sergeant-at-Arms and U.S. Capitol Police regarding potential reconnaissance tours by GOP members that happened on January 5th prior to January 6th. I wanted to know if these have been confirmed and if there's an update on that specific aspect of the investigation.
No, anything like that would remain between the members who know of such actions, and I don't know I do not know. Perhaps I will find out at some point, but I do not know what members they are referencing. I think that's between them and whoever would be investigating it.
Have you seen that letter from January 13th?
Yeah, the letter that was signed by members. Yeah, that was a matter of in the public domain. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Do you anticipate that this commission will have subpoena power? I mean, what kind of power do you think the commission will have?
Well, you have to have subpoena power. Yes. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Do you think that teachers need to be vaccinated before heading back into the classroom?
Well, it depends on I think the degree of the incidence of COVID in their area. I think teachers should be vaccinated. I don't know that they must be vaccinated before going in. We're very proud of what's in our bill when it comes to education, because this is where we're saying that we want the children to be in school. Again, I told you about my daughter not having water in Houston. I have a granddaughter in public school in San Francisco, so I see the need for that to happen. Again, in her case, she has all the technology and the assistance at home, and some children do not. So we want as many kids to be back in school as possible. For that to happen, it takes some money. It takes some money because you have to have spatial distancing, which means you need more space. Therefore, you need more teachers. Therefore, you need more buses for kids to be spaced to come to school. You need better ventilation. 40% of the public schools in the country have substandard ventilation in the class, and that is very important. So for all of those reasons, we're very pleased with what is in the legislation, and more, those and more. I think that I want everybody to be vaccinated, and I certainly want our teachers to be, but depending on what the situation is in their area, it may or may not be necessary. Now, the important point to make on this is where there is a high incidence of COVID, most of those schools are virtual or hybrid anyway. They're not actual, and the vaccination might not make it actual anyway. So again, there has to be a judgment made from the community as to how they go forward. We want the vaccine to be there for everyone. I think it's having an impact. We're very proud of the scientists who work 24/7 to get right now COVID, Pfizer and Moderna, what they have put forth, and now others on the horizon, and that will make it more available. But I don't think that it's a yes or no question. I think it depends on the incidence of COVID in the region and if, in fact, those classes will even be actual. One of the fights we had, I use the word fight, that we had with the Trump administration last year was that they wanted the funds in the bill only to go to schools that were actually open. And well, how could you do that? You are depriving so many schools who are lacking in ventilation and more space and more opportunity to hire teachers. Therefore, you were disadvantaging the most disadvantaged schools in the country, and that just couldn't be. And this legislation is very smart in what it does, and if you want me to, I'll read you all the things that it does do to open schools. And again, yes, we want everyone vaccinated. Is it a prerequisite? Well, it just depends on the region. Yes, ma'am.
Madam Speaker. On the funding, Republicans say that just a fraction of the education funding in the COVID bill is just allocated for this year and much of it over the next 10 years. So how do you square that with the need to open schools with the funding if so much of it is down the road?
I don't place too much weight on what the Republicans say, even though it seems to be a value to you to use as a question. But the fact is that this is the money that is needed. This is the money that is needed. The $130 billion in K through 12 will help provide immediate relief to schools so they can safely reopen for in-person instruction and address the difficult multi-year challenges making up lost time in the classroom. This learning loss is heartbreaking for children. And of course, we're hoping that summer school and the rest can make up for some of it. The degree to which in-person learning takes place in a state is a local decision, not a federal one, but the federal arm can and will make recommendations and provide resources. It's about resources and to look at, and that's what we plan to do in this legislation. The Committee on Education and Labor advanced a major portion of the president's COVID proposal last week for education, $130 for K through 12, and then additional money for higher education. Now, let me also say that education is largely funded, more than 90%, by state and local entities. And so that's why the state and local piece in here is very, very important as well. So if, in fact, and I think it is a fact, that we all want children back in school, there has to be a recognition that it's going to take resources to do so and to be spent as soon as it possibly can be, as I mentioned, immediate relief to schools so they can safely reopen with in-person education. Yes, ma'am.
Madam Speaker, with respect to immigration, do you think this new package that's being unveiled today?
Excuse me, I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry. With respect to the immigration package
that's
being unveiled today, do you envision that having to be pushed through the reconciliation process?
Not necessarily, no. Today they will introduce the legislation. What we, as I mentioned to you earlier, what we did, what we informed members of, this is the design. It is frozen, and it complies with the reconciliation. I don't see anything of that size. Now, there are people who are advocating for that, and the question is, would that meet the Byrd rule and those other kinds of things? And if it would, that would be wonderful, because then we wouldn't need the 60 votes. But I salute the president for putting forth the legislation that he did. There are others who want to do piecemeal, and that may be a good approach too. That's up to the Congress to decide. But I was thinking this morning, in anticipation of their announcement of the Citizenship Act, that a couple years ago, I guess it must be longer than that now when Trump was new president. Oh, did I say his name? When they did the Muslim ban, we had a hearing, a rump hearing, because we were not the majority and we couldn't do that. And at that hearing, I think it's really important to note two things that relate to this introduction today. One was that when we had economists speak, we said, what is the most important thing we can do to grow the economy? Comprehensive immigration reform. And when the evangelicals spoke, and that was not just at that hearing, but at other hearings that we had, comprehensive immigration reform will grow our GDP. That's very important. And when we had at the particular hearing I was mentioning, the Muslim ban hearing, the evangelicals spoke. The representative for the American Evangelical Association, whatever the title is, about refugees, which are in this bill. He said, the refugee resettlement program of the United States of America is the crown jewel of our humanitarianism. The refugee resettlement program. That was the evangelical community speaking up, because they have been leaders in that regard. Both of those are covered, comprehensive immigration reform and resettlement of refugees in a humanitarian way, the crown jewel of American humanitarianism. So this is a values-based but also economically beneficial. And as I have always said, immigrants coming to our country, with newcomers coming with their hopes and dreams and aspirations, with their optimism and determination to make the future better for their families, well, those are American traits. And when they come here with those values, they make America more American. So I'm very excited about now how it happens through the legislative process remains to be seen, but it is a priority, and we will be working on it. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yes, ma'am.
President Joe Biden, during a town hall this week, said that the U.S. should speak up for human rights in China. I know you've been very vocal about it, and he said that there will be repercussions for China. What actions would you like to see from President Biden to change China's human rights practice?
Yeah. Well, thank you for that question. Yes, I've been working on human rights in China for over 30 years, since Tiananmen Square. And it is, it's really important for the world to know that human rights are part of our value system as we engage in the world. About our national security, it's about our military and our strength. It's about our economy and how we interact, and it's about our values. And we cannot sacrifice one for the other. What form that takes, I would hope that it would change some behavior in China vis-a-vis Hong Kong, Tibet, Uyghurs. It's really interesting to me that it took us 100 years to have the Armenian genocide declared a genocide, and they've already declared what's happening to the Uyghurs a genocide. So I think that that's a very strong statement. It's also a strong statement for the people who are, I have a relationship over time with so many of those who have been arrested for years or in prison labor camps and all the rest of that. I'm so proud of that. And basically, what they tell us, the cruelest form of torture for them is when the Chinese authorities come in and say, nobody even knows you're here. They don't even remember why you're here and the rest. So that's why it's important for us to speak out, so that those people know that they are not forgotten, even by name. In many cases, we have named them. And by the way, in a very bipartisan way. I've worked for over 30 years with my Republican counterparts across the aisle, one of them who is still here, Chris Smith and I have worked on these issues for years, but Frank Wolf before, and just a whole long list of Republican members who have been excellent on human rights throughout the world. You just named China, but throughout the world. They've taken risks. They've gone to prison labor camps to collect evidence so that we could make our case here. But I salute the administration for honoring our values. How we go about it is just in weighing the equities. The Chinese know, and those who are arrested, suppressed, whatever, know that they are not forgotten. Thank you all very much. Be careful on your way home. Don't go too late because you don't want to be traveling in the dark with all of this. Do you have any other grandmotherly advice that you would like me to give to you? But I really salute you for being here with that, with the weather that was out there. But a big day, 3 bills, gold medal, congressional gold medal honoring our Capitol Police and others, the Equality Act, ending discrimination against the LGBTQ community, the American Citizenship Act of President Biden, very important, and then continuing our work on COVID. As we leave, though, I do want to say once again, because I saw some of you on Saturday night, how proud we were and are of our managers, led by Jamie Raskin, on how they honored their oath and helped us honor our oath to protect and defend the Constitution. And they were doing so at the same time as we were honoring our values, meeting the needs of the American people in the COVID legislation, dispelling, I don't even know where any of you got this idea, that our honoring our constitutional oath would come at the cost of our honoring, meeting the needs of the American people. We're so proud of them as we are proud of our chairs for the work that they did to take us forward now. Thank you all very much. Be careful. Stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you.
Give her a better one, she would call them.